Hello, good evening. Chris Hughes from Rebound on Upstream Media's YouTube channel. Tonight I'm joined by Lee Hodges. I'm really excited to talk to Lee about many topics. Lee's one of our NHS heroes currently working and made the switch from Hill Store to Essex Rebels. So we'll discuss all that and more. Welcome, Lee. I hope you're well.
Hi, Chris. You're right. Pleasure to be here.
No worries. So we were just talking about off camera about some stuff. I'm really looking forward to talking a bit more. I thought maybe we could sort of just start with your basketball journey, how it started for you, and what motivated you to start playing basketball.
Um, well, I mean, when I was at school, I was younger. I was big into rugby. Obviously, I'm quite a big built guy. My PE teacher was quite keen to get me to play basketball. Obviously, being like 6'7" at the time, I was year 8 or whatever. I was quite a bit bigger than a lot of people that age. So he was quite keen, and he was a big basketball fan. Um, Going on from there, I kind of met Mark Lloyd, who was running a Colchester program, National League. But I was too young to play on the under-18s team that they had going on there. And I went over to Nick Drain at Ipswich Basketball Club. They kind of come and watch me play. Nick asked if I'd go and join their under-16s. I think I was about 14 or 15 at the time. Didn't really know kind of much about basketball at all. Kind of what my potential was. I was kind of naive to it. And yeah, Nick sort of got me into basketball from there, really. Kind of all hit me a bit like a whirlwind. I was kind of playing for England by the time I was, 4 months into the season. I think I'd had more England caps than I had National League appearances, and it took off, really. Yeah, Nick Drain from Ipswich, he kind of had a big part of my junior career. Um, lots of input. Many that know me know that I kind of grew up without a father figure, and he kind of stepped into that role for me at a young age, and has done for many others at Ipswich Basketball Club. It's something that they do very well there. It's kind of a big family thing, and that draws you to want to stay and do your best for the club. And it's something that a lot of players find the position in. So
Definitely, and I'm sure we'll sort of talk quite a lot. Your experience around the South East, Pebble, Essex, and Ipswich, and so lots of memories to discuss and talk, especially about this season. But I remember you told me a while back a really funny story. But when you were growing up, someone sort of said that you were too tall to play basketball. So maybe for people who are new to that, maybe you explain how that happened and what your response to that was at the time.
yeah, so I actually had to contact Nick this morning just to check the story was correct. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to come on here and say something that weren't right. But no, we were away to a team in Brighton. We won by 40. And Nick told me this morning that I had 48 points, 29 rebounds. It was an under 16 game. Obviously, most of that was just that I was, 6'10", 20 stone, big, could score around the basket. And after the game, the coach come over to Nick and he was like, this kid's too big for basketball. Like, he shouldn't be playing. It's not fair. And Nick was like, have you ever watched a basketball game before? Like, they're quite tall. But it was crazy. Like, obviously, I was new to basketball, so I didn't really know what he was talking about. But yeah, it's a funny story. Me and Nick talk about it even to today. So
Yeah, it's amazing. So, being tall is probably one of the key attributes playing basketball in terms of protecting the rim and yeah, a bit about your game, sort of being dominant in the paint and stuff. And you talked about international. So, well, how was that like? 'Cause you said you sort of had more international. Actually, you had national team. What was the squad like? What was the experience like? So young to have that exposure when you're learning about the game.
well, you've got a picture. I'm a quite a shy, goofy person until you get to know me, and then I kind of, build up that trust, and I'll express myself a bit more. But I've gone off to this England camp. You got the likes of like Ryan Richards at a young age. Devon Bailey was there. Danny McKay was there. Like guys like this, that are established National League players. And I waltz in, this big white goofy dude that has just started playing basketball. And I felt completely out of depth there. But they obviously saw something in me, mainly probably my height and my size. I'm a big built guy, quite good genes that way. And yeah, I mean, it just took off. That year it just flew by. I didn't really know where I was at times. Playing National League, gaining my confidence there with the team, and then going back to these camps with England. But yeah, it was really good. Obviously, being around the likes of Ryan Richards and that at a junior team. Obviously they've gone on. Ryan Richards, I think, was drafted by San Antonio, and not many people get to say that they've played with the players of that caliber. So it was good for me, definitely.
And as a learning opportunity, I imagine you learned quite a lot. Say you came into not knowing much about basketball. What was sort of the best advice you had at that age that sort of really stuck with you as you went on in your career?
Well, I remember having a conversation with Nick, and kind of at a young age, my mum was always worried. She was a single parent, and I was always accidentally hurting kids. Kids play fight, and being so much bigger than everyone else, I was always told, you got to be careful, blah blah blah. And then I go into basketball, and Nick's like, he's a bit of a bruiser himself. He's like, you just got to hit people, mate. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that like safely. Do you know what I mean? So I think growing up, Nick was trying to get me like not to be such a wimp when it comes to like setting screens and that. He's like, you've got to set a solid screen, and when you're posting up, you can't just go and waltz down there. You've got to go and hit someone and seal them. And I think most of my dominance probably comes from Nick drilling that into me. The fact that you can't underneath the rim, you're going to get hit, so you might as well hit them first. You know what I mean? It's that kind of mentality. And I'm still not brilliant at it now. I, I do play a bit, conservative at times, but I'm a lot better than I was. So, but I think probably just trying to be as dominant as you can. You've got the size to do it. Was the best advice that I got.
Definitely, and I imagine it's after the Vets she went on to play for Essex in D1, and I imagine playing against men did it make it a bit easier for you to commit yourself because you're maybe not so worried about hurting youngsters like yourself, but maybe you're playing against full-grown men. You didn't feel you were able to take the restraint off a bit, and you did that have a good effect? Did you playing seniors so young?
Yeah, massively. I went off to play for Essex Leopards. I think at the time they were London Leopards. John Burnell was the coach, and he's the same as Nick. He's a bit of a bruiser. If you watch him play when he was younger, you'll find out his mentality in basketball. But I was thrown into the deep end quite a bit there. Obviously going against established Division 1 men guys at the age of 17, 18 years old. You kind of have to just step up. You either go and hit them or you're going to get beaten up. So it took a little while, but I did learn, quite quickly that, it's a different game at that level, very different. And I got a lot of players, like Lee McCarthy, Errol Seaman, Roger Lloyd. I was around senior guys that were established at that time, and I was training with them, 3 times a week, and then going back and playing under 18s National League as well. So it was different, very different.
And sort of going on that journey, having that experience, do you think it's a really good thing for youngsters playing at a high level early on, or what's your opinion on that? Because I think it's quite a contentious issue in terms of the opportunities youngsters get at the moment.
I think if they're good enough to play, then let them play. Do you know what I mean? You've only got to look at Cameron for Worthing this year. He's ridiculous season. Like we played against him when I was at Hemel, and I think he had like 30. and he's not just scoring in one way. He's like shooting threes. He's pull-ups to the basket. He's dunking on the fast break. And I can remember back to having like a young Caleb Fuller on our Ipswich Senior Division 2 team. He was like 14, 15 at the time, training with us, and he's gone off to America. And I think if the talent's there and they have the ability to, come and play, just like I did, just let them play. For the future of England basketball, that's what we want. We want our young talent playing at that level as much as they can. Yeah, I don't, like I said, Cameron this year has kind of reinforced that for me. Do you know what I mean? He had a ridiculous year. It was really good to see, and to play against him. Obviously, he went off with Barking in that tournament as well. I can't remember the name of the tournament, but he got picked for the All-Star 5, and so he's had a ridiculous year.
Yeah, no, for me, I thought it was strange on paper to see Barkin pick it up a Worthing player to play in the Adidas Next Generation tournament that talked about. But I think that was a really good experience for him and the other youngsters. I know you played a bit of D2 this season. Were there any players that you saw during your time in D2, but you think, maybe not at the same level Cameron, but maybe you feel could be playing in D1?
We played against a couple of players. I'm not very good with names, but obviously we played against NASA when they had a bunch of the London City Royals guys that after the team unfortunately folded. And those guys have been playing and training at BBL level. So we had a tough game away there, and I think we came out kind of narrow victory there, which was a very, very big win for us, kind of post Christmas or whatever. And then the Lithuania team, some of them are like mentioned bricklayers and stuff, but them guys can play, man, and they're just strong men. Like that's, I think number 10 on their team. He's quite athletic. He can play definitely at Division 1 level. In fact, when I was at Hemel this season, we did go and play the Lithuanians, and they did give us a good game. So obviously, I didn't get much of a chance to play against a lot of the teams because I joined kind of Christmas time with the Rebels. But the teams we did play against, none of the games were that easy. So I think the top 4 teams in Division 2 could probably all compete with Division 1. Maybe below that, since the north-south split, it's kind of peels off a little bit maybe. But I mean, obviously Division 1 is a different story because every team is, bar Barking, I think, is just stacked with, strong physical men, and it's that side of the game that is different for me. You're getting hit by a point guard. Like it's different, but in that sense. But
definitely, and I think I remember watching the BC Medellina. She'll talk about the D2 Lithuanian side.
Yes,
they're really strong in the playoff. I think I want to say playoff final against Kestrels. They really had the physicality, which maybe the other side didn't have, and they were a little bit too dominant for them to really see a way of winning that. They went on to win, so they definitely look a good side, and definitely have a look at
especially
their team.
at home.
Yeah, I think
they get away with it a bit more at home. They're allowed to, hit people a bit more because it's their home court. It's a small court. They're a tough team there. You can see they didn't lose a lot of games there, and you can see why. So,
and I imagine they're quite well backed. I think when I watched playoff final too, they packed out the whole arena for the playoff final. They have some great passionate fans.
It's such a great environment. Lithuania is massive on basketball, so it just makes it more fun. Like to go there, they're well coached. There's been trouble with the other Lithuanian team in the past, but they folded, and this team, they're just good at basketball, and it's a good physical game, and it's just fun, and it's a good environment those games. So
definitely, and sort of staying on D2, D3. It's great to see that there's some clubs who have got some really good backing. I had Teesside Lions on, which shirts from behind, and they have a really big backing. I think they attract 500 people each week, which is amazing. And I kind of want to talk a bit about the game day experience of Essex Leveson. I know you're an ambassador for the Big Dog Balling brand. And shout out, thanks for the wristband. I'm wearing it today. Hope you're well.
Shout out
Thought maybe
Nathan
sort of
Sparrow.
update. Yeah. How do you get to know him? Maybe sort of bit your story of him.
So Nathan, I've known since I was, 14 at school. He was kind of around the Colchester basketball circuit when I was a junior. Kind of first started watching them at the local leisure centre, and I think they were Division 3 National League at the time, Colchester. Him and his brother both played on that team, and obviously we weren't friends back then, but it was through basketball. And since I've got a bit older and been around, we're good friends now, and I'm now an ambassador along with Ellie Shaxson. We're both ambassadors for his brand, and he's doing big things, and he's in it for the right reasons. Do you know what I mean? He's just trying to help people, with basketball and stuff. And game day experiences with him, are night and day difference. If he's not there, you can completely tell. And we're trying to get on at him to let us do the Bucks games as well. But obviously, during the day, he's difficult for him. He's tied up. But yeah, he just it's completely different. You got him on the microphone and getting everyone going in the crowd, and all the good music comes on. Any basketball player will tell you, that's what you want when you're warming up and stuff. It's much better. So.
Definitely agree. I think the first time I came across him was the Nash Cup final last season and in this season, and it definitely makes it worth going, have something to go for. I think, not to criticise anyone in particular, but when I went to the final this year, other than the commentator, it felt a little bit flat. And it'd be great to have more people doing what he's doing. So it's really good work for the game day experience. It's nice to hear you say it's an important part for players have that experience. So I always think to grow the sport is when we get people into the games, they don't expect to see 10 guys play basketball. To make it an event makes a bit more. And obviously we mentioned a bit about what he's been doing. Maybe do a bit more about what he's doing with Essex Rebels this season. So he's been doing quite a lot with them, which helps them.
Yeah, he's always around. He comes to training and stuff as well. So it's a lot of the guys are friends with him and stuff now as well. So he's just a good guy to have around. Do you know what I mean? He knows basketball. He knows what we want from him, and he delivers that kind of weekly. So hopefully he's around again next season. I'm sure he will be if I'm there.
Definitely, I've enjoyed this live chats with some of the younger players in the community, so it's only a good thing for Basketball South East. We will get into a few of your recent news. I'm glad you mentioned Bucks. I think Bucks is part of the game that, in terms of the British basketball product, undersold a bit. And I thought maybe you'd talk about your experience with Bucks. I think it's a really good tournament, and it'd be great to hear how you experience Bucks this season.
I mean, Bucks for us was, you've got obviously UE, who are the Bristol team. They've got affiliation with the Flyers, so they've got a couple of guys. Then you've got UEL, who have got affiliation with like Lions, so they've got a couple of their guys, quite a lot of their guys to be fair. But it would be, the competition would be better if you got to play the Loughboroughs and stuff more during the year instead of just like final eights and that. I think there's quite a drop off from the top half of Bucks Premier, like South, to the bottom half of it, and it makes some of the games, a bit like more of a chore than anything else. So it's getting better, but there's still a way to go, I think, at that level. But obviously, when you get to final eights, that's where you want to be. Like all the good teams, Newcastle, Loughboroughs, like that's who you want to be playing against. That's where you test yourself as a team. So
definitely, and especially to say that the competitive environments at the top is really good, and it sort of touched about what I had with Maestro, and they were saying how they felt the more competition, the more competitive competition, makes better development. So it would be good to see maybe them look at changing, because like you say, you won't be playing against the best of the best each week, and I think it's put it nicely, it's a bit of a mishmash, isn't it? Like you said, so you got some really good
Yeah,
players, and then you got some medium players, and you got some guys who are just uni students. Maybe that's kind of develop like better if it's. What I really like off topic of football is how they've done the Nations League in terms of having the strongest teams all play each other. And really nice to see that change in Bucks. And obviously, being part of Bucks, you're doing a bit of your nursing study. I thought maybe talk a bit about that, how that's been going for you as well.
yeah. So somehow when I was playing basketball, I fell into a role of youth support worker. I'd obviously started off doing a bit of basketball coaching and going into these places and trying to help out that way. Then I signed on to do some bank work during the summer one year. I needed some money and stuff. And I really enjoyed the job role, taking kids out to the cinema and stuff, trying to engage them in stuff, lift their mood. These guys are really depressed and stuff at times and really struggling. And so kind of developed from there, really. And then I got offered a job as a healthcare assistant at a secure ward, PQ, which is a psychiatric intensive care unit for 11 to 18-year-olds for a family friend. So I started doing that and kind of got offered a full-time role there, which I decided to take. And it's kind of gone from there, really. I'm a band 4 in the NHS now, which is an associate practitioner. And I'm doing my training at Essex Uni to become a mental health nurse in the same role with the 11 to 18-year-olds. So, yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone. I don't want to sit here and say it's an easy job. The hours are long and it can be tough at times. We've got a very good team there, though, and, it's a very rewarding job. So, getting on in age now, that's where my focus is more upon work as opposed to basketball now, and just progressing my career, really. But yeah, I mean, it all started again through basketball. So the avenues that basketball can open up for you is obviously quite vast, which has worked out in my case. So
Definitely, and to say a lot of topics I thought about say I work in then it's just people are maybe not aware band for sort of what they used to call auxiliary nurse, say clinical environment. It's sort of a bridge role to create sort of to fulfill the shortness of nurse for having people semi-trained to be at a certain level to do half of the roles, to alleviate job pressure, but also then to upskill healthcare workers looking to be nurses. And Lee's done really well. He's almost ready to be a full-fledged nurse. So hats off to you. I think quite often when I started doing rebates, the biggest shock for me was how hard everyone works behind the scenes. I think if you don't know and just go to watch a game, it's easy to forget, but a lot of these guys are working part-time, full-time, or students, and it's an amazing amount of work everyone puts. Also applaud everyone who's behind the scenes. Because even at sort of NBL, there's a lot of people working really hard on the product. And
yeah,
I kind of want definitely, and I say obviously that's influenced some of your basketball decisions. So I know after Essex, that's where we left it. You went up to Ipswich C2, and more recently went to Essex again, and Ben Hemel, Ben Essex level. Can you sort of break down maybe decisions behind those moves in the last sort of 3 years? Because I think a lot of them, you say, only lead to your job.
yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't have any decisions other than just where am I playing basketball. It was a lot easier to decide these things. I had a year in France after Leopards, which was successful. We won the league. We got promotion. Myself and Tom Sadler. Then I came back. I decided, that wasn't for me playing abroad. I quickly realised that, I wanted to be at home, and I was worried that I'd get injured and I wouldn't have anything to fall back on. And it kind of all, I've always been a home person. I like being at home, and it might be that I was, a single parent brought up by my mum, and I don't like that feeling being away. But sorry. So I struggled with that. I decided to come home, and Ipswich Men had started up. They were in Division 4. They'd just got promoted to Division 3. Nick Drain was the coach, who I obviously, he's like family to me. So it was an easy decision. We got promotion through them up to Division 2. We failed to get to Division 1 by, one game, I think, in our best season. We had a stacked team, myself, Colin Dockrell, Tom Sadler, Aaron Mosley, Josh Johnson, Isaac Daniels. Like we had, players that have played at a good level all down at Ipswich. And, we missed promotion, like I say, by one game. So after Ipswich, I went to play for Hemel. Had quite an inconsistent year my first year there with how I was performing, how many minutes I was playing. I struggled to have that role of 15 minutes a game. It's not something that I was kind of used to or wanted really. And we massively underachieved with the team that we had that year. We should have won the league. We were absolutely stacked. Like David Ajamobi, Tom Adorian, Courtney Van Beesley. We had some absolutely like ridiculous players in that team, and we just underachieved. And I came away from the year quite annoyed at basketball and almost not ready to quit, but I didn't know if my heart was in it anymore. And I had a conversation with Tom Baker, who is the Leopards coach, and he's like, we'd like you to come and play for us. Obviously, they were joining with Essex Uni, which is right on my doorstep. It was kind of a no-brainer for me, and I had had a good season with him. He was such a good person for me to be around at that time, and he made me realize basketball, I still loved the game, and he just let me have fun. He didn't really put much pressure on me at all to do anything. And I still talk to him now. He's a very good guy, and unfortunately, they moved to Oaklands. It didn't work out with the uni, and obviously that's 2 hours away from me, which requires a lot of expenses on my end to travel to and from practice, and they just didn't have the funds there for me to go back. I'd been speaking to Hemel anyway a little bit, and me and John Burnell go back to when I was a junior playing for his Leopards team, and he just asked if I would be interested in coming back. And Hemel as a basketball club is one of the best in the country, in my opinion. The volunteers there, game day experience there. Obviously, they've got super backing financially as well, so they're able to put a strong outfit out each season. And obviously, they'd changed their coach and stuff, so it was looking positive for me. And going there was a great decision for me. It got to Christmas, and like I said to you before we came online, I was struggling with fitting in working long days, traveling to and from practice. You get stuck in traffic on the A12 M25, getting home 3 a.m, getting up for work at 6, doing a long day there for 12 and a half hours. It all just, I don't want to sound, like I'm whinging or anything. I don't want any sympathy for it, but it got too much and something had to change. And unfortunately, like I said, I'm 30 now. Basketball's not going to be forever. And I had to make that tough decision to come back to Colchester. I had a conversation, post Christmas with my Bucks coach, who coaches the Rebels Division 2 men's team as well. And I just said, can we work out a way that, I can come and play Division 2? And he thought I was joking to start off with. But I just said to him, I need a better work-life balance. And, we made something happen. And, I'm forever grateful to him for sorting that out for me through the university. And obviously, we had a successful end to the season and gained promotion to Division One. So there's no reason why I won't be back there next season. Hopefully, competing in Division One successfully. We just got to see what kind of team we can put together, go from there, I guess. But it's exciting, man. Like the basketball in Colchester is taken off, and that's big shout out to Tom Sadler and Ross Norfolk for that. Their hard work is obviously paying off, and Tom's coaching the WBBL team. They're playing at the highest level for women in this country, and hopefully one day there'll be a BBL team there as well. So it'll be nice to say I was part of that and helped my hometown kind of get to that status. So
definitely, and it looks like there's only two teams in Essex that, obviously Essex, Hearts, one Hertfordshire and Essex, but two South East teams in the NBL with Hemel, so it makes a good rivalry and games. I'd like to ask a little bit. You're talking about the frustrations of the 17-18 season for Hemel, where you guys finished seventh, and you were really competitive. I remember that season well. It was probably my second season as a fan of the NBL, so I remember it quite well. And even though maybe the league did well, you actually had a really good playoff run. What were some of your memories from the playoff run? That was a little bit better than the league run, but also some of your experience from that time.
The playoff run was an in-form AJ Roberts. We played some games, and I would say he's probably one of the best players that I've played with as an all-round guy. He's a great guy. He works his ass off. Can score in many different ways, but also locks in defensively. When I said we were stacked, we had some unbelievable players on that team. I think the playoff run, I think we changed the lineup a little bit. They added in Tom Adorian to the starting lineup along with myself. And that was just too much for a lot of teams. That's a lot of size in there. Tom Adorian's mid-range jump shot is extremely consistent at that time, which meant I had a lot of one-on-one coverage. And it was great for us. We looked like a different team completely. The frustrating part for me was the final, where we started in the same way. With the tall lineup, myself and Tom, and we quickly went back to how we'd been playing in the regular season with a smaller lineup. And I think I played about 10 minutes. And I possibly was the second top scorer on our team with like 8 points or something. And people were asking me after the game, were you injured? Did you get hurt? Why didn't you play? And I couldn't answer it. I was just frustrated sitting on the bench. So a lot of the frustration was from that, really. And that's part of basketball. Some coaches they like a smaller lineup. Some have their players they respect and have earned their respect, and that happens. Do you know what I mean? You just got to learn from it. And I didn't want to put myself in that same position the next season. If I was frustrated, I don't think that was going to change the year after. I thought at the time maybe I wasn't in good enough shape, so I got myself in better shape, lost a load of weight. Didn't really change anything, so I had to change something, and that's when that decision was made.
Definitely, I say it's really good to hear some of the reason behind the moves. I think I was sort of head scratched a bit because you had a really good start to this season. Obviously, I understand fully, but there's more to basketball just playing. You got to have that work-life balance, and I know from seeing the Instagram there was a lot of late night travelling. Obviously the move comes to a bit more work-life balance, but I thought maybe we talk some of the highlights of that season, some good parts for you, and I'm sure there's Hemel Storm fans listening. I'd love to hear a bit about how that experience was for you. So I'm sure there's a lot of positives.
Well, I mean, they got Drew Spinks in, and he's a he's been massive in basketball in England. He's played BBL, he's played all over. His daughter's in America, so he's a massive basketball head. And right from the start, he wanted us to improve as people more than basketball players, and he helped me a lot with I was averaging a tech a game and stuff. I get into these moods where some would call it sulky, I guess. The ref, I get a technical, blah blah. So he was helping me with that a lot. But in terms of the team we put together again at Hemel, having Michael Darlow as the assistant coach, who I'd recently played with a couple of years before, was amazing for me. Sam Newman came over with me, who's obviously a friend of mine and kind of known him since he was a youngster around Ipswich basketball. So having him there was amazing, and to see him play that well was good as well. But the road trips and stuff that you go on with these guys, Hemel Basketball Club look after you. Do you know what I mean? Like they had a 72-seater coach. Not many teams have that, even at BBL level. So the highlights of the year is you being around the teammates. We had two outstanding Americans in Greg and Mike, who were you can just sit back and watch him play at times. Sometimes with Mike, you feel like you're just watching him play. Do you know what I mean? He goes on these scoring runs, and it's ridiculous. So, but we had a very good team, and it was a joy to play on. I don't regret leaving at Christmas, but it's not something that I'd ever done before. Like quitting halfway through a season is not something that I'm proud of or anything like that. But I just that work-life balance just wasn't there, and it was a tough, very very tough decision. I was close to being in tears at the time of telling John Burnell, I just can't do it anymore. And there was some frustration on their part, and things were difficult. Do you know what I mean? But I've got a lot of love for Hemel Basketball Club. I just wish it was an hour and a half closer to home. Things would have been very different, but yeah, it was a difficult decision, like I said, but it was one that had to be made, and I'm much happier and in a much better space for doing that. So yeah, it was the right decision.
That's good to hear, because I think as much as we all love basketball, the individual's well-being and welfare and well-life has always trumped it before basketball. So that's really good to hear that the move was a positive one for you. You talked about the bus. Is that the Hemel Love bus, where you got all the Hemel players focused on the side of the bus, or was that something different?
Yeah, so that was a different bus. That was one that went around the local town. That was in my first year there. I remember having like a massive picture of Waleed on it. He got a lot of stick for that. It was quite funny. But yeah, no. So obviously the club's sponsored by Arriva, and they just wanted to have some branding around the town just to get our name out there. Really, like I said, they're back to the moon and back with people that are interested in helping Hemel basketball, and they're very lucky in that respect. But like I said, the volunteers there, the running of that club is outstanding, and they very 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 much care about the players there, and they look after you. So I would always say to anyone that is thinking about maybe going there, don't think about it. Just you'll love it there. If you're in a position to be able to travel and it doesn't cause you any issues, they'll look after you 100%. So
That's good to hear. I think you got a very passionate backing to extend one of their standards to let more people come in. And what I used to love when they travel is they travel their orange, all in tier, all orange to loudly support fans. So it must be really appreciative of players. Any sort of
Hemel versus Worthing is a ridiculous game. It's like there's about 1,000 people there. It's insane. Worthing bring 400-500 people. Hemel bring the same. It's unbelievable. They're probably two of the better back teams in the country, I would say, for fan support in that sense. But anytime you play against a team like Worthing, who have that fan group, like I said to you earlier, the Lithuanian team is just a good environment. It just makes it more fun. Do you know what I mean? You got people booing you and shouting at you, giving you stick. It's, for me, that's good. Like, it's fun.
Yeah, I think it's great. For me, I think it's a lovely environment. I think at the end of the day, we all bit partisan. We all support each other a little bit, but when it's a game day, it's all strong rivalries, supporting your clubs. It's great to see. And like you say, Hemel and Worthing are really well backed clubs. Maybe some of the Hemel fans watching today, sort of listening in on your time with them. I don't know if you had any sort of funny memories or something you think they might appreciate learning, but maybe they weren't privy to say that sort of that club band idea they're not always there as a fly on the wall, if that makes sense.
I'm trying to think of something that happened that I could, say on live YouTube. To be honest, anything involving Michael Darlow tends to be funny.
Fine. We had him on the show. He's a great character, great line. It's great to see him doing well. How did you get to know Mike? Maybe sort of that, because he's a really great coach. He's obviously made that transition player to coach. But obviously, you probably knew him as a player as well. So maybe talk about him and how you guys know each other.
Well, I first met him in my first season at Hemel, and he's a team guy. He loves his teammates. Now he's a very good coach as well. He's learning from Drew. But yeah, he's just one of them guys. He's just a team guy. He loves it. He's a joy to be around.
Definitely, and I wish him all luck next season. We lost you. I'm still there. And having someone like Drew Speights to learn must be really good for him. So at the start of that season, I think you did like 5 out of 6 doubles. I don't remember that run at all. Was there anything in particular that really helped you in that time, or memories from that run? Because it was quite really good to start for Hemel and say good start for yourself in this season.
I don't want to say like I don't remember it, but you kind of just when you're in it, you're just in it, aren't you? You just get on with it, kind of thing. Obviously, the games are the fun part. The training is what you have to get up for. Games, if you have to get up for a game, you're probably doing something wrong. Do you know what I mean? So it's just you go to war with your team, and that's the fun part. So you just kind of get on with it. You go to a game, you win, lose, you draw a line under it, you move on to the next one, and that's the kind of mentality that you have to have with a doubleheader weekend. You might wake up bruised, aching. You just got to get on with it. So it's kind of just like that, really. Yeah, just moving on to the next game, and obviously your end goal is, you want to be finishing high as you can, and you got to win games to do that. So.
Definitely, I don't blame you for not remembering certain games. It always surprises me when I've been watching The Last Dance. Not spoil if anyone's not watching, but I'm really surprised how people remember games that happened like 20 or 15 years ago. I wouldn't remember them. I'd probably have to watch the game. Oh yeah, that's what I did then and stuff.
I can barely remember what I did last week, like let alone 15 years ago.
I know. I feel a bit embarrassed to say thank you sort of to obviously me for giving me this opportunity. And I've been actually to the day I've been on this show 2 months, pretty much 5 days a week, every week. I've lost count of weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks. And it's when I go back, I did show that person, I did show this one. So for me, documenting on my website is a good way to keep my memory going. I think I need cod liver oil tablets to help my memory. So as I hit the 30, I'm now sort of not remembering what I did yesterday. I say it's great having you on talking a bit about basketball. I thought maybe we could talk about some of the things you've been doing this off season to keep you busy. I know your brother did that race, so maybe you could talk a bit about that and some of the other things you've been up to the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm still at work. I work for the NHS, so there's no days off for most key workers at this time. So I've just been kind of helping out, doing a bit of overtime at work, doing a bit of running and stuff, which is dreadfully boring but necessary when you can't go to the gym. But my brother-in-law, he's so Amy Linton, who a lot of people will know through basketball, is my fiance, and it's her brother. Sadly, their dad passed away when he was 7. He's 16 now, and he's doing what he can to get over that. It's still a struggle for them all, as it would be for anyone. But he decided that in the lockdown that he would like to try and raise some money for the NHS. So today he started at about 10 o'clock this morning. Has been doing 30 miles of walking in his army gear with a weighted bag on, and he's set up a GoFundMe page. I think he's raised close to £2,000, and I think he's probably just about finishing now. So hopefully he's okay and he's getting some food and stuff. But we're all very proud of him, and he's done a very, very good thing, and hopefully that helps him process some memories of his dad and stuff, and feel like he's given back. It's sad for anyone to lose their dad, especially at the age of 7. I can't imagine what that was like. So
definitely, I'll say we're sort of talking a bit about that experience, and we're both sharing how maybe we don't particularly like running. I know quite a lot of guests had on there. Oh yeah, I've been doing a lot of running, keep you busy. How have you been finding it? It's obviously quite challenging time to sort of keep yourself physically fit and obviously mentally fit for when next season comes. Maybe some things you've been doing to keep yourself busy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite lucky. I've got a dog. I think he's been on more walks than he's used to, so I've just been out and about with him. We've been doing like running and stuff. Anyone that knows me knows I hate running. Like, I'm not interested in doing running around the road for an hour. Like, it's just boring. It's just pointless to me. So I've just been doing that really, and home workouts, body stuff, press ups and circuits and stuff. Just the same as anyone really. I was quite glad that I'm still able to work. A lot of people have been furloughed and they're stuck at home, and people are struggling with wages and stuff. So I'm quite lucky really that I'm able to work. So yeah, I mean, mentally for me, it's been a bit of a struggle in terms of not being able to go to the gym and stuff. That's been my escape for the last couple of years. I got myself like right into going to the gym and that, and I used to going 4, 5, 6 times a week. To having that taken away, it's been quite tough. But everyone's in the same position, and you can't feel sorry for yourself. You just got to get on with it, really. People are dying of this disease, and I'm moaning about not going to the gym. So that's kind of my mindset on it. I'm trying not to think about it too much and just get on with it. Obviously, I live at home with Amy, so we've got each other's company, which helps a lot. A lot of people, are at home by themselves and stuff, so it can be quite difficult. So
definitely, I think that's a really good mindset to have and good advice to give to others. Because we're all in the same boat, but obviously it is that hard if we don't have our advice about you going to gym, or a lot of people watching basketball. Hopefully we'll be out of this soon. We just got to keep doing the good work we're doing and help stay at home to keep the NHS going. And say you working hard. I'm usually myself, I work in NHS, but with my chest condition, I'm shielded. So for me, it is weird not going out. And I think when I'm on the ward, I'm doing 10,000 steps plus. So I think how am I going to do that at home? That's actually really hard. I think I've sort of got to give myself a kick up the bum and try and do something. So even though I'm in home, there's still things I can be doing, like exercise videos. I was doing the Joe Wick one, and I was religiously doing it every day. But I was like, realised that it's never going to be an achievable task. I'm not an athlete. I'm not someone who does that workouts 5, 6 days a week. So for me to try and do it every day was never going to be sustainable. Maybe I'll try it back to do 2 or 3 days a week. Even just doing a little bit is better than nothing. So It's great to hear your perspective, especially what you've been doing well and sort of talking a bit about the season. I really appreciate having you on.
Been a pleasure.
After the show, you're welcome. After the show, if you send me the link, I'll put to your brother-in-law's Justin page. I put on there, see if anyone wants to make. So I'm sure there's lots of people wanting to help out the NHS this time, because the NHS does a lot of really good work, and even though it is funded by taxpayers, any help for any of the NHS teams getting the much needed downs, because even though they use the downs and the gloves on a daily basis, it's unprecedented. They're using them a lot more now, and supply is much lower. So anything they can raise obviously will be really good. So hopefully people
Yeah, no,
get
I
on our
appreciate that
mill. And
very much.
so I thought I think we covered everything, and I say it's really good talking to you about all the stuff. Is there a message you want to sort of finish on? Maybe a bit of advice to people? I know you sort of touched upon that just now. Is there anything you want to sort of add and say to people for
I
next
just think,
season?
I wish everyone to, stay safe and keep themselves and their families safe, and, stay strong as well. If there's a lot of outlets for people that are suffering with any mental health issues, make sure you're talking to people if you're struggling. Don't bottle it up. Especially at this time, a lot of people are obviously not being able to do things that help them mentally, and are struggling with it. And if you really are struggling, make sure you're talking to people, because that will definitely help. But yeah, the most important thing is to keep safe. Yeah, that's it.
That's great. Thanks so much, Lee. Thanks for coming on. We look forward to seeing you and the Essex Rebels hopefully in NBL D1 next season. Take care,
Can't
everyone,
wait.
and like Lee says, stay safe. Can't wait. Me neither. I really look forward to seeing the NBL plan. I think if I get out to these shows to August, I need some hope that the season start on time. Thanks for coming
Hopefully.
on, and stay safe, everyone. All right,
Been a
that's
pleasure. Thanks,
everything
Chris.
from me and Lee. You're welcome. Take care and good evening, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, mate.